The snow falls in sheets so thick you cannot see past your own hand. Wind cuts through the frozen air like a blade wrapped in ice, howling between the brick buildings that frame the parking lot of Trattoria Marcello. The restaurant glows warm and golden behind them, muffled laughter and the clink of wine glasses drifting through the walls. But out here, in the white darkness, there is only cold and screaming. A child runs. 6 years old, pink snowflake sweater soaked dark with melting snow, jeans clinging to her thin legs, sneakers flapping untied against the asphalt. Her name is Emma. She does not know this yet, but her entire world is about to transform. She only knows that her father's hands hurt. She only knows that she is supposed to run. Behind her, a man in a long black coat chases through the white chaos. His face is twisted with rage, eyes wild, mouth open and shouting words that dissolve into the wind. "Get back here! She is my daughter. You cannot take my daughter from me." He reaches for her. A woman moves. Mia Harper does not think. She does not calculate odds or consider consequences. Her body simply reacts, muscle and instinct and something deeper than logic. She steps forward, plants her feet, and shoves the trembling child behind her own frame. Her arms spread wide like wings, like a shield, like a prayer made flesh. She is 28 years old, 5'4", weighing 118 pounds. She has never fought anyone in her life. She is terrified. But she does not move. The man stops. Freezes mid-stride. His rage transmutes into confusion as he stares past Mia at something behind her. The wind shifts. Snow swirls. Mia turns to follow his gaze. 30 feet away, a black SUV idles in the darkness. The engine rumbles like a sleeping predator. The door hangs open. And inside, framed by the interior light, sits a man. He is tall, broad-shouldered, carved from something harder than bone. Dark hair swept back from a face marked by a scar that runs from the outside of his left eye down to his jaw like a slash of lightning. His eyes are storm gray and absolutely still. He wears a white dress shirt open at the collar, showing the hollow of his throat and the top of his chest. His suit is charcoal, tailored so precisely that it costs more than Mia earned in 3 months of work. A gold watch catches the light. His name is Nicholas Calabrese. He is the most feared man in Boston. And right now, he is watching the woman who just threw herself in front of danger like it was nothing. Their eyes meet across the snow-filled void. The timestamp glows red on the bank sign above them, 9:53 p.m. The temperature reads 19 degrees. The wind velocity is 32 miles per hour. These details will matter. These details will change everything. Mia's heart pounds so hard she thinks it might break through her ribs. The child behind her trembles, whimpering, pressing closer. The man in the coat slowly lowers his arms. He looks at Nicholas. He looks back at Mia. And something in him breaks. He turns and walks away, back toward the restaurant, disappearing into the gold-lit warmth like a ghost dissolving into memory. The SUV door closes with a soft, final sound. The black vehicle pulls slowly out of the parking lot and vanishes into the white night, leaving Mia standing alone with a child she does not know, shaking in the cold, not comprehending that she has just crossed a line from which there is no return. She has no idea. None. That the child clinging to her sweater belongs to Nicholas Calabrese. That the man in the coat lost custody of Emma 3 days ago in family court. That standing between that child and danger in a frozen Boston parking lot at 9:51 p.m. on a night when the snow fell like a curtain between worlds is something Nicholas Calabrese will never, ever forget. In his world, debts are written in blood and paid in loyalty. He does not forgive transgressions. He does not forget slights. But he also does not forget kindness. And he does not leave protection unrewarded. Mia holds Emma until her shaking stops, until the child's breathing slows, until quiet settles across the parking lot like fresh snow. Neither of them knows that by this time tomorrow, 50 armed men will arrive at the place where she sleeps. Neither of them knows that everything she lost will be returned to her. Neither of them knows that Nicholas Calabrese is watching from the darkness, watching the woman who just became something precious to him, a mirror of his own broken childhood, a reflection of the person he could have been if someone had shielded him once. If someone had stood between him and the darkness. But first, we must go back. Back to 14 hours before the snow, before the running, before the moment everything changed. Back to a converted closet in the Blackwood mansion where Mia Harper woke to darkness, counted the days until she lost everything, and did not yet know that her last morning as an invisible woman was already beginning. The closet is 8 feet by 6 feet. No window. No natural light. A single bulb hangs from the ceiling, casting shadows that feel like walls closing in. The mattress is thin, covered with sheets that smell like laundry detergent and desperation. Mia lies awake, as she does every morning, at 5:17 a.m. She does not sleep well anymore. Sleep feels like drowning. She reaches for the manila envelope beneath her pillow with trembling fingers. The paper inside is creased from being read 1,000 times. The words have not changed. They will never change. They are carved in official letters that speak of debt and timeline and consequences. $22,000. Due in 14 days. Property foreclosure proceedings initiated. Mia stares at the numbers until they blur. She knows them by heart. She knows them like a prayer she never wanted to learn. She sits up slowly, counting her breathing. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. This is what the therapist told her to do back when she could afford therapy. Back when she had health insurance. Back when she believed things could be different. From under the mattress, she pulls out a small tin box. Inside, arranged carefully, are the bills she has saved. $1. 2 ones. 5 ones. 7 ones. 10s. She counts them slowly. $78. This is everything she owns in the world except for the clothes in her suitcase and the small gold ring that belonged to her grandmother, which she does not sell because it is the last thing she has that proves she existed before this, before the debt, before the foreclosure notice. Her hands shake as she counts. $78. 14 days. $1,571 per day to stop the bank from taking her apartment. The numbers do not work. They have never worked. They will never work. Mia is 28 years old and she looks 47. Her hair is dark brown, tangled from sleeping, with grey threads running through it like cracks in concrete. Her eyes are green but they have lost their color, bleached pale from exhaustion and chronic stress. There are dark circles beneath them that makeup can no longer hide. Her skin is pale, papery, marked with tiny scars on her wrists that she covers with long sleeves even in summer. She weighs 118 pounds but she looks fragile, as if a strong wind could scatter her into pieces. She dresses in the dark. Uniform pants. Black shirt with the Blackwood Mansion crest on the pocket, which costs her $45 a week from her earnings, which she does not earn but receives as a living allowance from the family she works for. She is a live-in nanny/housemaid/cook/whatever else they require. She has worked here for 3 years. She has earned exactly $78 in pocket money during that time. The door to the closet opens and she steps into the hallway. The mansion is quiet at this hour. The Blackwood family sleeps upstairs in rooms larger than her entire apartment. She can hear the pipes creaking, the house settling around her like a living thing. The kitchen light is already on. Douglas Hale is already there, arranging his supplies for the day. Douglas is the head chef, 61 years old, with a face like old leather and eyes like cold grease. He watches her with an expression that makes her skin crawl. "You're late," he says, though she is exactly on time. "We have guests tonight. I need the silver polished. All of it. I need the dining room reset. I need you invisible and efficient. Can you manage that?" "Yes," Mia says quietly. "Of course." "And Mia," he adds, his voice dropping lower, something dangerous slipping into his tone like a knife into a sheath, "do not forget that our arrangement requires discretion. Your immigration paperwork, your social security status, all of that is contingent on your silence. You understand. She understands. Douglas has been threatening her with exposure for 3 years. He has been stealing her tips for 3 years. Her wages are withheld. Her papers are questionable. He has absolute power over her survival. This is the arrangement. She nods without speaking and moves toward the silver cabinet. Behind her, Douglas watches. He has been watching her like this since day one. Mia feels the weight of his gaze like a physical thing, like hands she cannot escape. By 9:08 a.m., the dining room gleams. The silver catches the light. The crystal glasses are positioned with mathematical precision. The linens are pressed so sharply they could cut skin. Mia has worked 14 hours already. She has not eaten. Her feet ache. There are 16 hours until she can rest. The doorbell chimes at 6:16 p.m. Guests arrive. Expensive people in expensive clothes, discussing investments and real estate and things that require 7 figures. One of them brings a child. A girl, 6 years old, with dark curly hair and eyes that seem too old for her face. Her name is Emma. She sits at the children's table while the adults eat coq au vin and drink Bordeaux and ignore her completely. Emma watches Mia move between tables, clearing plates, refilling glasses. At one point, their eyes meet. The child does not smile, but she does not look away. There is something in her expression that Mia recognizes. Loneliness. The knowledge of being invisible. Of mattering to no one. Mia does something small. Foolish. She winks. Emma's lips curve slightly. Just barely. It is the smallest victory in the smallest moment, but Mia feels something shift in her chest. Something that has been frozen for 3 years begins to thaw. By 10:41 p.m., the guests have left. Mia clears the last plate. Douglas is already planning tomorrow. The Blackwood family retires to their rooms. And Mia, exhausted beyond measure, walks toward the front door to take out the trash before returning to her closet. The wind hits her first. Cold. Sharp. It carries the smell of snow coming, of winter arriving like a predator. The parking lot beyond the mansion gates is mostly empty. A few cars. The valet stand. Everything quiet. Everything still. She does not yet know that in exactly 4 hours and 47 minutes, she will be standing in a frozen parking lot 40 blocks away, shielding a child from danger, changing the entire trajectory of her life without knowing it. For now, she simply takes out the trash and walks back inside, into the warmth and the light and the prison of her employment, unaware that the storm is about to begin. The clock on the wall of Mia Harper's converted closet bedroom reads 7:03 a.m. Not 7 o'clock. Not 7:05. 7:03, because every minute matters when you are counting them like a prisoner counts days toward release. She does not turn on the light. The overhead bulb burned out 6 weeks ago, and she cannot ask Cordelia Blackwood for a replacement without inviting scrutiny, without giving the woman another reason to find her insufficient. So Mia pulls back the thin blanket, gray, fraying at the edges, purchased at a Salvation Army in 2019, and the November cold hits her skin like a blade wrapped in ice. The closet is 6 feet by 8 feet. No window. No heat vent. The walls are painted institutional beige, and someone has written measurements in pencil from when this space held coats instead of a human being. Mia has lived here for 3 years. On her first night, she cried so hard she vomited. Now she simply exists in the dark and counts her breaths like currency. The foreclosure notice is under her pillow. She has memorized every word, every number, every threatening phrase. Final notice. Legal proceedings initiated. $22,000 due within 14 days or the property will be seized and sold at auction. Her mother's house. The place where Mia was born. The only thing in this world that still belonged to her family. She pulls it out with trembling fingers, unfolds it though she knows every crease by heart, and reads the date again. The deadline is November 29th, 13 days away now. 13. The showbox is hidden behind a loose baseboard. Inside, $78 in 5s and 1s, rubber banded tight. This is everything. This is her entire universe of currency. $78 between her and homelessness. She counts it anyway. 5, 10, 15, 20. She counts it slow, each bill a small prayer that somehow the number will multiply. It never does. By 7:15, Mia is dressed in the clothes she will wear to serve the Blackwood children breakfast, a black uniform dress 3 sizes too large, purchased secondhand, the buttons slightly misaligned because her hands were shaking when she sewed them on. She braids her dark hair, still wet from the shower she took at 6:56 a.m. in the mansion's basement bathroom while everyone slept. Mia is 31 years old, but her reflection in the cracked mirror shows someone older. Someone who has swallowed her own screams too many times to remember the sound of her own voice. At 7:28, she enters the Blackwood family's kitchen, marble countertops, stainless steel appliances, windows overlooking Boston like the family owns the entire city. The children are waiting. Thomas, age 9, already scrolling through his phone. Charlotte, age 7, still in her pajamas, humming a song from something Mia could never afford to watch. "Good morning," Mia says. Her voice comes out soft, apologetic, as if simply existing requires permission. Neither child looks up. She makes pancakes from scratch. Not because the Blackwoods have asked her to, they do not ask her anything, they simply expect and she provides, but because pancakes have saved her sanity 3 times a week for 3 years. The repetition. The measurements. The steady heat of the griddle. For 15 minutes while she flips golden circles, the foreclosure notice does not exist. The $78 do not exist. There is only the sizzle of butter and the smell of vanilla and the small, desperate hope that one of these children might smile at her. Thomas leaves without eating. Charlotte takes one bite and says it tastes weird. At 8:41 a.m., Cordelia Blackwood appears in the kitchen like a phantom materializing from expensive fabric and cruelty. Cordelia is 63 years old, though she has paid enough money to look 58. Her silver hair is pulled into a bun so tight it seems to stretch the skin across her skull. She wears a designer pantsuit in charcoal gray, the kind of suit that costs what Mia makes in a month, and her eyes are the color of dirty ice. "The children's bathroom," Cordelia says. Not a greeting. Not a question. A statement of fact that something is wrong. Mia's stomach tightens. "What about it?" "I found dust on the sink ledge." "Dust, Mia." "Visible dust." Cordelia's voice does not rise. It does not need to. The coldness in her tone is far more effective than screaming. "This is the 3rd time this month. Perhaps you're simply not suited for this position. Perhaps I made a mistake in hiring you." Mia's hands begin to shake. She clasps them together. "I'm sorry. I'll clean it again right now." "Yes," Cordelia says. "You will." Mia scrubs the bathroom sink for 20 minutes, her fingers raw from the cleanser, her eyes burning with tears she will not cry. Cordelia stands in the doorway the entire time, watching, the silence between them heavy enough to crush bone. When it is done, Cordelia runs her finger across the surface anyway. As if she is hoping to find something to criticize. She does not find it. She simply nods and leaves, her footsteps echoing down the marble hallway like a countdown to something terrible. By 6:38 p.m., Mia has taken the children to school, picked them up, helped with homework, and prepared dinner that the family will eat in the formal dining room while she stands in the background, ready to clear plates. Her second job begins now. She takes the bus across the city to Trattoria Marcello. The restaurant sits on a cobblestone street in Boston's North End, all candlelit tables and leather booths and the smell of garlic and oregano. It is the kind of place where a single entry costs more than Mia's weekly rent. The kind of place where she is a ghost. Invisible. Useful only for how quickly she can make other people comfortable. Douglas Hale is waiting by the walk-in cooler when she arrives. He is the restaurant's manager, early 40s, with slicked back hair and a predatory smile that appears and disappears depending on how many customers are watching. Tonight, the back hallway is empty. "You're late," he says. His voice is honey-coated poison. "I'm 3 minutes early." "You're late." He steps toward her, closing the space between them. Mia can smell his cologne, something expensive and suffocating. "And we have a problem. You've been using the good plates. The Versace plates." Without asking permission. Mia has not touched the Versace plates. She knows this. She knows this with absolute certainty. But arguing will cost her the tips she needs. The tips are survival. "I'm sorry," she says. "I won't do it again." "No," Douglas agrees. "You won't." He leans against the wall, blocking her exit. "Here's how this works now. You give me 60% of your tips. Not 50. 60. That's the price for using the good plates and not being fired on the spot. Last week you said 50%. Last week I was being generous." His smile widens. He pulls out his phone. "You know, I've been wondering about your green card situation. Your work visa. All that paperwork. How current is it exactly?" Mia's throat closes. She has a valid visa. She knows she does. But she also knows that fighting Douglas means legal fees she cannot afford, means lawyers she cannot hire, means her mother's house getting auctioned off while she sits in an immigration office trying to prove her own right to exist. 60%, she whispers. "That's what I thought," he says. By 9:41 p.m., the restaurant is packed with people who have never worried about money. The women wear diamonds that probably cost more than Mia's entire lifetime of earnings. The men order wine bottles without looking at prices. Mia moves between tables like a shadow, clearing plates, refilling glasses, apologizing for things that are not her fault. Her tips for the evening total $72. Douglas takes 43 of them. She walks out into the November night with $29 added to her $78. $107 to her name. 13 days until everything is lost. The snow begins at 8:24 p.m. By 9:45, it has transformed the city into something unrecognizable. The wind tears through the streets with the sound of something alive, something hungry. Visibility has dropped to 30 feet. Cars crawl through the intersection like wounded animals. The temperature has fallen to 22 degrees, and the snow keeps falling, relentless and absolute. Mia stands outside Trattoria Marcello in a coat that is too thin, a coat purchased at a discount store in 2015, a coat never meant to survive weather like this, and there is no glove in her pocket. She has one pair of gloves, and they are in her locker at the Blackwood mansion, and she cannot afford a second pair, so she wears only one on any given day and keeps the other at home in case the first one is lost. Today was the single glove day. Her right hand is already numb. The bus stop is 4 blocks away. 4 blocks through a blizzard that is worsening by the minute. She has no choice. She cannot call a taxi. Cannot call Cordelia. Cannot call anyone. She simply puts her head down and walks into the screaming cold. 3 blocks away, in a private booth at Trattoria Marcello's back, Nicholas Calabrese is sitting with 2 men. The booth is reserved every Thursday. The restaurant owner keeps it empty until Nicholas arrives, and then the owner disappears, and everyone else in the restaurant somehow knows not to make eye contact with the 3 men at table 7. One of those men is Tony, barrel-chested, salt and pepper beard, the kind of presence that makes other men step aside without knowing why. The other is Dario, lean as a knife, scar running through his left eyebrow, eyes like something that should not be alive. Nicholas sits between them, and he is the kind of man that makes Tony and Dario look like supporting players in a story about someone else. He is tall. 6'1", broad-shouldered, built like someone who has fought his way through every obstacle the world could place in front of him. He wears a suit that costs more than most people's cars, charcoal, tailored, the kind of fit that only happens when someone measures you personally. Underneath, His white shirt is open at the neck, and there are scars visible on his chest, old scars, the kind that speak of violence that happened a long time ago. His face is angular, sharp, the kind of face that breaks noses regularly. Dark hair, graying slightly at the temples. Eyes the color of a storm gathering on the horizon. A scar runs from his left eye down to his cheekbone, a reminder of something, of violence, a story he has never told anyone. He is 38 years old. He has been running his empire for 16 years. Before that, he was running from poverty. Before that, he was running from his father's fists. Nicholas grew up in the South Boston projects. His father was a dock worker who drank until his hands stopped shaking, and then he beat the shaking back into Nicholas until the boy learned not to move when he sensed the rage building. His mother died when he was 12, pneumonia, no insurance, a woman too tired to keep breathing. After that, there was only his father and the fists and the sound of his own screaming that he eventually learned to silence. By 16, Nicholas had decided that no one would ever make him powerless again. By 22, he had made his first million through methods he does not discuss. By 38, he owned half the shipping in Boston and the other half paid him protection money. He has never married, though he has a daughter. Emma. 6 years old. Dark curly hair. Eyes too old for her face. The only thing in this world that matters more than his own breathing. Tony is speaking, but Nicholas is barely listening. His phone has been buzzing all evening, messages about Emma's custody situation, about the supervised visitation that went wrong, about the man who tried to take his daughter. They grabbed her, Tony is saying. During the exchange at the library. Her mother's new husband thinks he can just walk out with Emma like she's a package. Police showed up. He dropped her and ran. She's safe. She's with her mother right now. But Nicholas sets down his fork. Very slowly. Very carefully. Because if he moves too fast, if he allows his hands to express what his face will not, he will break this plate and then the bottle and then he will keep breaking things until something breaks in him. Where? His voice comes out steady. A blade of ice. Spotted his car. Parking lot. Trattoria Marcello lot. He's running. Emma's at her mother's apartment, but Nicholas is already standing. The snow is visible through the restaurant windows now, coming down in sheets so thick that the street beyond has disappeared. The world has been erased, replaced by white, replaced by cold, replaced by chaos. It is 9:22 p.m., and a 6-year-old girl has been grabbed by a man who thinks he can take what belongs to Nicholas Calabrese. Tony and Dario are already moving, already calling men on phones, already becoming what they always are when Nicholas needs them to become it. Nicholas pushes through the restaurant's back exit into the blizzard. The parking lot is 40 yards away, and through the white chaos, he sees movement. A man running. And ahead of him, smaller, faster, screaming, Emma. His Emma. Running barefoot through the snow in a dress that is too light for weather like this. And then there is a woman. She is wearing a coat that is too thin, and she has no gloves, and Mia Harper does not know this man, does not know this child, does not know anything except that a 6-year-old girl is screaming and a man is chasing her and something in Mia's chest that broke a long time ago somehow is still alive enough to move. She throws herself between them. The blizzard swallows the parking lot in white fury. Snow falls so thick that the world beyond the asphalt has vanished completely. It is 9:47 in the evening, and somewhere in this chaos, a 6-year-old girl is screaming. Nicholas Calabrese emerges from his black SUV like a man stepping into a photograph of his own reckoning. 6'3", shoulders broad enough to cast a shadow even in this storm, charcoal overcoat worth more than most people's cars. His eyes are the color of winter itself, gray and merciless and impossibly focused. Behind him, Tony and Dario move with the synchronized precision of men who have done this 1,000 times before. Weapons drawn. Ready. But what stops them all is not the man running through the snow. It is the woman standing between him and the child. She is 5'4". Soaking wet. Her coat is missing 2 buttons and her shoes have holes in the soles that are letting in the slush. Her name is Mia Harper and she has no idea who this child belongs to. She only knows that Emma is screaming and the man chasing her is moving fast and something broke inside Mia a very long time ago, but apparently it is still alive enough to move. She spreads her arms wider. The man stops 6 feet away, breathing hard. His face is red with cold and rage. His voice comes out shattered. "That's my daughter. Get out of my way." Mia's lips are blue from the cold. Her whole body trembles. But her voice cuts through the wind steady and clear. "She's scared. You're scaring her. Step back. You don't know what you're doing. She's my daughter. I have rights." "She's scared," Mia repeats. She doesn't move. She doesn't flinch. She simply stands there like a shield made of nothing but conviction, and it is the most beautiful and terrible thing Nicholas has ever witnessed. The man sees the SUVs then. Sees Tony and Dario. Sees Nicholas himself stepping forward through the snow, moving slowly, deliberately, the way a predator moves when it has already decided the outcome. The man's face goes white. He turns and runs into the blizzard. Disappears between parked cars. Gone. Mia drops to her knees immediately. Her trembling hands find Emma's shoulders and she turns the child gently to face her. "Are you hurt? Did he hurt you? Look at me, sweetheart. Let me see." Emma is crying so hard she can barely breathe. She wraps her small arms around Mia's neck and buries her face in that soaked coat that smells like fear and desperation and a kind of love that costs everything. Nicholas approaches slowly. His hands are visible. Open. Unthreatening. When he reaches them, he kneels in the snow without hesitation, and Tony's jaw literally drops because in 15 years of working for this man, he has never seen Nicholas Calabrese kneel for anyone. Nicholas looks at Mia. Really looks at her. Takes in the way her eyes are swollen from crying, the way her fingers are raw and chapped from cold and work, the way she is shaking so violently that her teeth are chattering. Then he looks at Emma's face buried in Mia's shoulder. His voice, when he speaks, is soft. Unrecognizable. Like something that has learned tenderness in a foreign language. "Thank you." Mia nods without speaking. She gently unwraps Emma's arms and tries to pass the child to him. This is his daughter. This is where she belongs. Nicholas takes Emma carefully, holds her against his chest. She is still crying but her breathing is steadying. He looks back at Mia, who stands now, backing away slowly. "Your name," he says. Not a question. She hesitates. For a moment, she thinks about lying. About disappearing into the snow and letting this moment dissolve like everything else in her life dissolves. But something in his eyes makes her tell the truth. Mia Harper. She turns and walks into the blizzard, moving between parked cars until the snow swallows her completely. Nicholas watches her vanish. The cold wind cuts across his face but he doesn't move. Emma has fallen asleep against his shoulder, her small fist clenched in his coat. Tony steps close, careful not to disturb the child. "Want me to follow her? Find out who she is." Nicholas is quiet for a very long time. The wind moans across the parking lot. Snow piles up on his shoulders, on his hair, on the sleeping child in his arms. "Find out everything," he finally says. His voice is steel. Where she lives. Where she works. What she needs. Every single thing. They move toward the SUV. Nicholas cradles Emma like she might shatter. Tony exchanges a look with Dario that neither of them will ever forget. Because something has shifted. Something fundamental. And they both feel it like the pressure change before a storm. 6 hours and 47 minutes later, the sun has not risen. The snow still falls. And Mia Harper stands at the kitchen window of the Blackwood mansion, watching the plows clear the circular driveway with mechanical indifference. She has not slept. She cannot sleep. Her hands shake when she holds coffee. Her hands shake when she does anything. Last night keeps playing over and over in her mind, the man's face, Emma's screams, the moment her own body moved without her permission and did something it has never done before. Something that matters. Cordelia Blackwood enters the kitchen like she owns the oxygen in the air. She pours coffee from the silver pot without acknowledging Mia's existence. This is how Cordelia has always treated her, like she is a piece of furniture. Useful but not worthy of eye contact. The sound of engines stops everything. Many engines. Moving together. The kind of synchronized approach that belongs to military operations or organizations that exist outside of what most people consider law and order. Mia turns to look out the window. 50 black SUVs roll up the mansion's long driveway in perfect formation. They block both exits. Men in black suits pour out, 2 per vehicle, moving with the precision of a choreographed dance that speaks of years of training and absolute obedience. 100 men, arranged in perfect rows, each one carrying the kind of quiet certainty that comes from knowing they are part of something far larger than themselves. The coffee mug slips from Cordelia's hand. It shatters against the marble floor. Porcelain fragments skitter across the kitchen like white bones. Brown liquid spreads in a stain that looks like blood. Cordelia's face has gone the color of old paper. The doorbell rings. Mia's heart is moving so fast she thinks it might break through her ribs. She takes a breath. Then another. She walks on trembling legs to the front door and opens it. Nicholas Calabrese stands on the threshold. Charcoal suit tailored to perfection. Snowflakes melting on his shoulders. Behind him, Tony and Dario flank him like sentries. Beyond them, the 100 men stand perfectly still, perfectly silent, perfectly patient. His voice is formal. Deliberate. Miss Harper. May I come in? She steps aside. There is no other option and they both know it. He enters the mansion like he owns it. His eyes move across the elegant foyer, the marble floors, the crystal chandelier, the paintings worth more than Mia's entire existence, with the kind of disinterest that says none of it registers as real. His eyes are looking for one thing. They find it. The converted closet door stands open. The one that is technically her bedroom but feels more like a cupboard someone forgot to lock. And on her makeshift nightstand, a milk crate covered with a sheet, lies a crumpled foreclosure notice. Nicholas's expression doesn't change but something in his chest hardens like concrete setting. Cordelia finds her voice. It comes out thin and sharp like a knife scraping across glass. Mr. Calabrese, what is the meaning of this intrusion? This doesn't concern you, Mrs. Blackwood. He doesn't look at her. His entire focus is on Mia. You protected my daughter last night. You stood between her and danger without knowing who she was, without asking what it would cost you, without hesitation of any kind. I protect what's mine. As of this moment, you are under my protection. No one touches you. No one threatens you. No one takes from you. Ever. Mia cannot breathe. The room is moving. Everything is moving. Nicholas gestures to Tony, who steps forward with an envelope. It is thick. Very thick. Nicholas hands it to Mia directly. $22,000, he says. Cash. For the house in Dorchester. The foreclosure notice has 14 days remaining. Now it doesn't. Mia's hands shake so violently the envelope falls. Bills scatter across Cordelia's pristine floor like autumn leaves. $100 bills. $20 bills. More money than she has seen in her entire life. More than she has earned in 6 years of working 14-hour days. She stares at them. At Nicholas. Back at the money. Why would you help me? Her voice is barely audible. A whisper that sounds like someone learning to speak after years of silence. I'm nobody. The change in Nicholas's expression is almost imperceptible. But Tony and Dario both notice it. Their eyes meet for just a fraction of a second, an acknowledgement that something unprecedented is occurring in real time. Nicholas kneels beside her without hesitation. The $1,000 suit touches the marble floor. He gathers bills in his large hands with surprising gentleness. "You didn't hesitate," he says quietly. "You didn't ask who she was or what it would cost you or whether it was your responsibility. You just moved. That is not nobody. That is someone. That is the opposite of nobody." Mia looks up at him and tears stream down her face so fast she cannot catch them. Their hands touch briefly as they collect the scattered money. His hand is warm. Steady. Certain in a way her hand will never be. He stands and offers it to her. She takes it and he pulls her to her feet with a gentleness that feels like a prayer. "I can't accept this," she whispers. "You can. You will. I don't know how to repay you. You already did." Cordelia watches this entire exchange with eyes that have gone very still. Very calculating. She steps forward, and when she speaks, her voice drips with false warmth like honey laced with poison. "Mr. Calabrese, Mia is a valued member of our household. I do hope there's no misunderstanding about her employment here with us." Nicholas finally looks at Cordelia. His voice drops 10 degrees in temperature. "Her employment here ends today. As of this moment, she no longer works for you. She works for me. Whatever compensation you provided her, I will triple it. Whatever hours you demanded, she will work half. She will have a real room, a real contract, and a real salary. She will have rest." Cordelia's mask cracks. The warmth evaporates. "I beg your pardon. I believe we are done here." He turns back to Mia. "Are you ready?" Mia's voice is small but steady. "The children. I've been caring for them since they were." "We'll be fine," Nicholas says. "You've given them enough. They have their mother now. Let her give them what they need." Tony opens the front door. The 100 men stand waiting in perfect formation. Beyond them, Boston stretches out under snow that is finally beginning to ease. Mia walks toward the door with the envelope in her hands. She doesn't look back at the mansion or at Cordelia's face, which has contorted into something that looks like rage barely contained behind a mask of civility. What she doesn't understand yet is that Cordelia Blackwood is much more dangerous than she appears. That this moment, this humiliation, has been noted and filed away in a mind that specializes in revenge. What Mia doesn't know is that Cordelia is Emma's paternal grandmother. That she has been orchestrating the custody challenges for 3 years, trying to get control of the child to leverage Nicholas himself. That she has been working with someone else. Someone closer. But that knowledge will come later. For now, Mia simply walks out into the snow with money in her hands and hope in her chest for the first time in a decade. Behind her, the door closes on her old life. The sound echoes. The rain hammered against the brown stone like 1,000 fists demanding entry. Mia stood on the back balcony at 11:11 p.m., no jacket, her thin sweater plastered to her ribs, arms wrapped around herself in a way that suggested she was trying to hold something together that was already fragmenting. The city sprawled below her, Boston's lights blurred by water and tears, and she replayed Cordelia's words again and again like a curse written into her bones. "You're a nanny, dear. That's all you'll ever be." The foreclosure notice had been paid. The $22,000 that had seemed impossible now sat in a bank account with Nicholas's name on the paperwork. But she had brought danger into this house. Into Emma's life. Into his life. Douglas was building lies like a man constructing a coffin, and Cordelia was weaponizing every legal channel available to her. And Mia was the vulnerability they were exploiting. The weak point. The expendable one. She thought about leaving. Disappearing before dawn. Walking out of this life the same way she had walked into it, alone, invisible, nobody. It would be easier. Emma would be safer without her. Nicholas could fight Cordelia without the burden of protecting someone so fragile, so replaceable. The rain soaked through her sweater, ice-cold rivulets running down her spine. Her fingers went numb on the railing. She could just walk away. Then warmth. A suit jacket settled over her shoulders like a prayer answered by someone who never prayed. Nicholas didn't speak. He simply stood beside her in the rain, watching the city lights dissolve into water, his profile carved from granite, rivulets streaming down his face. Mia's voice broke like glass. "I'm making everything worse." His eyes remained on the city. "You're making everything matter." That stopped her. She turned to look at him. His jaw was clenched, rain dripping from the scar that ran from his left eye to his cheekbone, but something in his gaze had shifted. Something that looked like certainty. "They're coming after me because of what I am," he said, his voice deep and solid like an oath. "They're coming after you because of what you did. There's a difference." He finally turned to face her. One difference that changes everything. Mia wanted to argue. She opened her mouth to tell him that he didn't understand, that she was nothing compared to what he had, that walking away was the kindest thing she could do. But his hand came up and brushed a strand of wet hair from her face, and the gesture was so tender, so at odds with the man who commanded 30 people with a single nod, that her breath caught. "Go inside," he said. "Sleep. Tomorrow will require everything you have." She didn't ask what he meant. She had learned that Nicholas operated in a language that existed beneath words. At 5:56 a.m., 12 men in black tactical gear moved through Douglas Hale's apartment building in Somerville like ghosts. Like a blade cutting through butter. Tony led them, his movements precise, economical, practiced 10,000 times. They breached the door in 4 seconds. Douglas woke to gloved hands dragging him from bed, zip ties cutting into his wrists, a hood yanked over his head before he could scream. The screaming came anyway, raw, desperate, the sound of a man who suddenly understood what consequence felt like. The neighbors kept their doors closed. They knew better. A van waited in the alley, engine running, exhaust curling into the pre-dawn darkness. The drive took 32 minutes. The hood came off inside a warehouse on the waterfront, fluorescent light so harsh it burned. Douglas blinked, squinted, tried to orient himself. His eyes adjusted to Nicholas sitting on a metal chair 15 feet away. Perfectly still. Behind Nicholas stood 30 men, faces emotionless as stone. Douglas collapsed to his knees. He was trembling like a cornered animal, his body already understanding what his mind was still denying. "Please," he whispered. "Please, I'll give back the money, I'll destroy the documents, please, I have a daughter, please." Nicholas's voice was quiet. Almost gentle. "You stole from people who couldn't fight back. You threatened women with deportation to silence them. You built your pathetic little empire on the fear of people who had nowhere else to go." He stood. His movements were unhurried. "I'm not going to kill you. That would be too quick. Too easy. Too merciful." He nodded to Tony. Douglas's face drained white. "No. No. Please, anything else, anything. The Rossini family has been looking for someone to blame for their shipment that went missing last month," Nicholas said. "I'm going to give them you." The screaming started again as 2 men dragged Douglas away. It echoed through the warehouse, bouncing off metal and concrete, then fading into nothing. Nicholas stood without expression, watching the space where Douglas had been. Around him, his men exchanged glances. This was how loyalty was cemented. This was what it meant to cross the wrong person. This was what happened when you believed someone was nobody. Simultaneous, 6:15 a.m., across the city in Beacon Hill. 12 federal vehicles surrounded Cordelia Blackwood's townhouse. FBI agents swarmed like an invasion, warrant in hand, news cameras already gathering on the street like vultures that had smelled blood from miles away. Dario had orchestrated every detail perfectly, 30 years of illegal dealings, business connections to criminal enterprises, conspiracy charges that reached back through decades. All of it delivered to the FBI in an irrefutable package tied with documentation so meticulous that her lawyers would weep. Cordelia, in silk pajamas the color of cream, was handcuffed on her front steps while neighbors watched. The cameras captured everything. The shock on her face. The way her mask crumbled like paper. The moment she realized that her reputation, her social standing, her carefully constructed kingdom, was being dismantled in real time on morning news broadcasts that would reach every corner of Boston. "Do you know who I am?" she screamed at the lead agent, FBI Morrison, a woman with stone eyes and zero patience for family names. "My lawyers will destroy you. My lawyers will." "Your lawyers are being arrested right now," Morrison said, her voice flat as a blade. "Tax evasion. Racketeering. Conspiracy to commit kidnapping. You're looking at 40 years federal, Mrs. Blackwood." Cordelia saw the cameras turn toward her. She tried to cover her face, but it was too late. The footage was already live. Already spreading. Already becoming permanent. Morrison leaned close as agents pushed Cordelia into the federal vehicle, and the lead agent's mouth curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. "The man you tried to threaten sends his regards," Morrison said. The door slammed shut on Cordelia's rage, her terror, her screams. At 8:02 a.m., Nicholas returned to the brownstone. Mia was in the kitchen with Emma, making breakfast. French toast. The smell of cinnamon and butter filled the room, and for a moment it was just a morning. Just a woman and a child and breakfast being prepared the way it should be prepared, with care, with attention, with the kind of ordinary devotion that built lives instead of destroying them. Mia looked up when Nicholas entered. Something in his face told her everything. She didn't ask questions. She didn't need to. She simply nodded, and the understanding that passed between them was deeper than words. Emma ran to show him her drawing, a house with a red door, stick figures holding hands, a sun that was too large and too bright. Nicholas lifted her up, kissed her forehead, set her down to finish her cereal. He moved like a man who had just carried something unbearable and had set it down. The television in the next room murmured with morning news. Cordelia Blackwood's perfect face, twisted with rage. Douglas Hale, missing, police investigating. Extensive criminal enterprise. Federal charges. It played on loop, becoming the story everyone would know, the narrative that would replace her version of events. Emma hummed while she colored, oblivious, her small hand steady on her crayon. Mia and Nicholas stood on opposite sides of the kitchen, separated by maybe 8 feet, but the space between them was charged with everything unspoken. Gratitude. Relief. The terrifying beginning of something neither of them had prepared for. Then Nicholas turned to look at her. Really look at her. And what Mia saw in his eyes was not the mafia boss or the man who commanded 30 people or the one who had just orchestrated the systematic destruction of 2 lives. What she saw was the boy he had been. The one who had learned young that protection meant something. That loyalty meant something. That there were people in this world who mattered enough to burn everything down for. The morning light touched his face, and Mia realized she was looking at a man who had been waiting his entire life to meet someone worth saving. Outside, the November rain finally stopped. The sun broke through the clouds like a knife through darkness. And in the kitchen of a brownstone in Boston, a child hummed while she colored, a woman breathed for the first time without fear, and a man made a silent decision that would change the shape of his entire empire. The storm had passed. Everything else was still to come. 1 year later, and Mia Harper stands at a window on the 30th floor of a building that touches the sky. Floor-to-ceiling glass frames the entire city of Boston spreading beneath her like a map of second chances. The spring evening is warm, and the lights below multiply as dusk settles into darkness. She holds a wine glass, and her other hand rests against the cool glass. The woman looking back at her in the reflection is not the one who counted $78 beside a foreclosure notice. She is someone new. Someone real. Her penthouse is modest by Nicholas's standards, but luxury by any measure that matters. Soft gray walls, cream furniture, the kind of space that says I am safe now, I am allowed to breathe. On the coffee table sits a framed photograph, Mia and Emma at the grand opening of the House of Hope, a non-profit organization that has now helped 243 exploited service workers, people who were paid in crumbs and silence, people who knew what it meant to be nobody. Mia testified before the state legislature last month about wage theft. She sits on 3 non-profit boards. She wears tailored business suits to work now, and no one mistakes her for a maid. Emma is 7 years old and thriving. She calls Mia by her first name, a distinction that erased the line between employee and family. Emma doesn't remember the blizzard, not really. She remembers Mia reading her stories before bed. She remembers Mia teaching her to braid her hair. She remembers a man named Nicholas who brings her ice cream on Thursdays and lets her sit on his lap while he works. She does not remember fear. Nicholas has been careful. Restrained in a way that costs him something visible. He and Emma have dinner with Mia twice a week. He funded the House of Hope, but Mia built it. Every aspect bears her fingerprints, her vision, her refusal to let invisible people stay invisible. He has given her space, distance, the freedom to choose. He has not touched her hand in a way that means anything but goodbye. She knows this discipline is costing him because she sees it in how he looks at her when he thinks she is not watching. The balcony door stands open. Spring air moves across her skin like a promise. She steps outside, and the city hums below her like something alive. For 3 minutes she stands alone with the weight of everything that has changed. The girl who threw herself between danger and a stranger's child without knowing it would transform her entire world, that girl got what she never dared to want. Safety. Purpose. A platform to speak for people the world had discarded. But there is a loneliness in success when you don't have anyone to share it with. She loves Emma fiercely. She respects Nicholas deeply. But there is a wall between them built from gratitude and obligation and her fear that she will never be more than the woman he saved. Then footsteps. Not threatening. Measured. Familiar. She turns. Nicholas stands in her living room, backlit by the apartment lights. Dark jeans. Black sweater. He looks less like a mafia boss and more like a man who has not slept well. She gave him a key months ago for emergencies, Emma-related situations. They agreed without saying the real reason. His eyes find hers, and something in his chest shifts visibly, like armor being set down. Emma's with Tony and his wife for the night, he says. His voice is steady, but underneath it runs something like fear. Is something wrong? Mia's heart has already started hammering. No. He pauses. The word hangs. Yes. I need to tell you something. He steps onto the balcony. The city wind catches his dark hair. He maintains distance, 2 feet between them, a careful boundary, a man holding himself back from something that might break if he moves too quickly. For a year I've watched you build something extraordinary, he says. His eyes reflect the city lights below. For a year I've told myself that what I feel doesn't matter because you deserve freedom, not obligation. You deserve to choose, not to feel trapped by gratitude for a man who did what any person should have done. Mia cannot breathe. But I can't do this anymore, Nicholas continues. His voice drops lower, more raw. I can't stand 2 feet away and pretend that you're not the only thing that matters. Not Emma, she is everything, but you are the reason I remember what it means to protect something instead of just controlling it. He steps closer. Still does not touch her. The space between them feels charged with every moment they have shared, every dinner, every careful conversation, every time he held back. That night in the parking lot, when you threw yourself between my daughter and danger, you weren't protecting a mafia boss's child. You were protecting a scared 6-year-old who needed someone. You didn't see my power or my money or what I could do for you. You saw a child. His voice thickens. That is what you taught me. Mia's eyes fill with tears. She doesn't wipe them. I grew up with a father who used his fists to prove his power, Nicholas says. I built an empire the same way. Then you showed me what real strength looks like. Standing in the snow with holes in your shoes, refusing to move because a child needed you. You alone taught me what protection truly means. He steps closer still, and now she can feel the warmth of him, can see the scar on his jaw, the intensity in his dark eyes. "No empire I build matters without you in it," he says, and the words come out like a confession, like something he has been carrying since that frozen parking lot. Mia closes the distance. Her hands find his face, and she kisses him, soft and tentative at first, then deeper, like she is answering a question that has taken a year to ask. He pulls her close, and she feels the tension leave his shoulders, feels the man beneath the armor finally allowed to exist. They break apart, breathing. The city sprawls below them, and they are two people who found each other in a blizzard and built something real from danger and gratitude and love that neither of them planned for. 6 months later, Mia and Nicola stand in a renovated parking lot on the corner of where Trattoria Marcello once stood. The restaurant is closed now, being transformed into a community center for service workers, a place where people like Mia once was confined legal aid, housing assistance, job training. Emma runs between them, holding both their hands, laughing at something Dario just said. The spot where Mia first shielded Emma is marked with a small bronze plaque. The inscription reads, "Where protection became family. Where a single moment changed 3 lives forever." Nicholas pulls an envelope from his jacket. He hands it to Mia without ceremony, without fanfare, like he is simply giving her something that always belonged to her. She opens it. Her hands shake. Adoption papers. Both of their names, Nicholas and Mia, listed as Emma's legal parents. Mother and father, chosen not by blood but by every moment that came after that blizzard. Mia drops to her knees. Emma crashes into her, small arms around her neck. Both of them are crying. Nicholas kneels beside them, and there they are, a family built from instinct and protection and love. The 3 of them holding each other while the city moves around them. To everyone counting crumpled bills by lamplight tonight. To everyone standing between danger and the defenseless with nothing but your own body as a shield. To every invisible person who believes they will always be nobody. The storm will pass, and you are far stronger than you think. Your moment is coming. And when it arrives, you will be ready for it, because you have already survived everything that came before. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment telling us about a time you stood up for someone who couldn't stand up for themselves. Subscribe because tomorrow we bring you another story of courage, protection, and love forged in impossible moments. Mia, Nicholas, and Emma walk away from the plaque, all 3 holding hands, heading toward the black SUV where Tony and Dario wait, both men grinning at the family they watched form from nothing. The snow begins to fall again, soft and clean, covering the parking lot where everything changed. The storm has passed. And what remains is stronger than what came before.